She burned my savings. What happened when the tables turned this crazy? The walls seemed to close in, the air thick with a dread I couldn't shake. It all started so innocently, a simple act of brotherly love. Little did I know, I was stepping onto a path paved with deceit, leading to a betrayal that would shatter my trust and leave me questioning everything. I loaned my sister $5,000 to start her dream business only to find out she spent it all on a luxury vacation. It sounds like a bad joke, doesn't it? Something ripped from a daytime soap opera. But it was my life, my reality. I never thought I'd end up in this position. If you'd asked me a year ago, I would have sworn Tara and I were inseparable. We had that bond, unbreakable, where you'd always have each other's backs. That belief led me straight into a nightmare, because I learned the hard way that family loyalty can be a one-way street slicked with lies. Tara and I grew up in Dallas, Texas, in a family that was comfortable but far from wealthy. After our parents split up when we were kids, we became even closer, always supporting each other through the turbulence. Tara, how do I put this delicately? She was a moth drawn to a dangerous flame. She dreamed big, mostly about becoming a social media personality, chasing fleeting moments of fame. I was the steady one, the responsible accountant, carefully saving every penny, often cleaning up her messes or times, and I care to admit. One Saturday, Tara called. Her voice was buzzing with an excitement that set off alarm bells. It was never a friendly chat when she had that tone. After some meaningless chatter, she practically screamed through the phone, "I want to start my own business." "What is it this time, Tara?" I asked, trying to keep the weariness out of my voice. "Come on, Nick." She snapped back, a sharp edge creeping into her tone. "This is real. I've done tons of research, and I want to open a cafe. A cute little spot in DLM, a cozy corner with books, pastries, maybe even some live music on weekends." "Actually," I said cautiously, "that sounds good." But a knot of apprehension tightened in my stomach. "You realize it's a lot of work, right?" "Yes," she insisted, her voice filled with a desperate kind of conviction. "Dedication. And I'm ready for that. Just enough space for tables and a counter." "This is it, Nick. This is the one that will change my life." "How much are you thinking you'll need?" I asked, already feeling a tug of obligation and a prickle of doubt. "Just to get started. You know, I'll pay you back once things take off. And I mean really take off. Nick, I'll make this happen." The plea in her voice almost broke me. $5,000. That was a huge chunk of my savings. But she sounded so sincere, so ready to make something of herself. I thought, maybe, just maybe, she was finally serious. "You're sure about this?" I asked, knowing full well I had probably already made up my mind. "If I do this, you promise me this is all going into the cafe. No more get-rich-quick schemes." "This is it. The cafe is my future," she said, her voice almost breaking with gratitude. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Against my better judgment, I transferred the money to her that night. Part of me was proud to help her start something real, and honestly, I was looking forward to seeing her succeed. Weeks passed, no updates, no messages. I told myself she was swamped, buried in the preparations. I was so wrong. Then, one day, scrolling through social media, I saw it. Tara, posing on a beach somewhere tropical, lounging on a beach chair with a cocktail in hand, living me best life, trade yourself. Rage, cold and sharp, pierced through me. "Tara, are you on vacation?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though my hands were shaking. "Yeah," she said, her voice annoyingly carefree. "I needed a break, some time to unwind before jumping into the business. You know, the world tilted on its axis." "Let me get this straight," I said, each word laced with a venom I didn't know I possessed. "I gave you $5,000 to start a cafe, and you spent it on a vacation." She let out a small, dismissive laugh, as if I was the one overreacting. "Nick, it's not that big of a deal. I'm still going to start the cafe. I just needed this first." Speechless, I just gaped. "So, you think you can just blow the money I gave you and tell me it's no big deal? Do you even realize how much I sacrificed to help you?" "Oh, come on, Nick," she said, her voice dripping with entitlement. "It's my money now. You gave it to me. I can use it however I see fit." It was like a slap in the face. She didn't even sound sorry. I realized then just how little my support meant to her, how my hard work was just a convenient lifeline she felt entitled to. "Fine," I managed, my voice cracking. "Enjoy your vacation, Tara. Don't call me again." And with that, I hung up. The next few months were hell. My own sister had taken the trust I had in her and incinerated it. Seeing her prance around on social media, flaunting her weeks of luxury, made me physically sick. I ignored her texts, her calls, every attempt she made to reach me. I wanted nothing to do with her. But then, a couple of months later, she called again. Only this time it was different. She sounded truly scared. "Nick," she said, her voice trembling, "I'm in a really bad spot. I'm about to lose my apartment. I lost my job, and the cafe idea never panned out. They're giving me a week to get out." "Really?" I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "So now that you've got no one else to turn to, you remember you have a brother?" "Please, Nick, don't be like that," she whispered, her voice breaking. I know I messed up, okay, but I have nowhere else to go. I'll stay in the guest room. I'll get a job, I promise. Just please don't leave me out here like this. Part of me wanted to hang up on her, let her drown in the consequences of her choices. But deep down, I knew I couldn't. She was my sister. Fine, I said through gritted teeth. You can stay, but only for a month. Tara, you're getting a job, and you're paying your own way. I'm not going to babysit you. She sounded relieved, almost tearful. Thank you, Nick. I'll make it right, I swear. So, she moved in, dragging her few belongings into my spare room. Looking like a shell of the confident person I had seen on social media. She got a job at a local diner, working long shifts and coming home exhausted. For the first few weeks, it seemed like she'd finally found some responsibility. We even started to have real conversations again. And she mentioned going back to school, maybe getting a degree. One night, after she came back from a late shift, we were sitting in the kitchen having coffee. She looked over at me, her eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in years, something akin to humility. I owe you so much, Nick, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I know I don't deserve this chance, but thank you. I shrugged, trying to downplay the moment. Don't mention it. Just make sure you stick to the plan this time. Things were looking up, or so I thought. Then, about 2 months into her stay, I discovered something that threw me right back to square one. I was doing laundry, and one of her jackets had slipped into the pile. As I went to empty the pockets, my fingers brushed against a crumpled piece of paper. It was a receipt from a jewelry store for a $3,200 bracelet. My mind raced, the blood drained from my face. A surge of anger, unlike anything I'd felt before, washed over me. I knew I had to confront her. That night, as soon as she walked in the door, I held up the receipt. What's this? I asked, my voice dangerously low. Her face went pale. She stammered, trying to think of an excuse. It's not what you think. Oh, really? Because it looks like you're back to blowing money on luxuries while you're living in my house, eating my food. Do you have any idea how insulting this is? She looked away, her voice defensive. You don't understand. Nick, I've been through so much. I needed something nice. Something that would make me feel like me again. I'm done. Tara, I cut her off, barely able to look at her. This was your last chance. I can't keep cleaning up your messes. I want you out by the end of the week. I thought she might actually apologize, but instead, her expression hardened, venom dripping from her voice. You want me gone? No problem. I'll be out of your precious house before you can even blink. And with that, she stormed off, slamming the door to the guest room behind her. I stood there in the quiet of the kitchen, the silence amplifying the hollowness inside me. I wanted to feel relieved, to finally be free of the toxic cycle. But all I felt was empty. The next morning, Tara was gone. No goodbye. All that was left to me was the guest room, scrubbed spotless. For the first few days, it was a relief. I could breathe again, focus on my own life. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. I just let her absence be a quiet reminder. About 6 months later, though, I got a phone call I never expected. Nick, the voice on the other end of the line was shaky, filled with a vulnerability I had never heard before. It was Tara. Tara, I said, unable to keep the edge out of my voice. She hesitated, and I could hear her take a shaky breath, as if mustering the courage to speak. I'm in jail, Nick. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Jail. I felt a rush of conflicting emotions, anger, fear, and a strange sense of pity. Jail, I repeated, struggling to process it. What the hell did you do? Tara. There was a long silence before she answered. I stole something. I got behind on bills, so you know I messed up. I know this is all my fault, but please, they need your help. I don't know who else to call. The weight of all the times she'd come to me in desperation, only to betray my trust again and again, settled heavily on my shoulders. Part of me wanted to march down to that jail and bail her out, but I knew I couldn't. I needed to be done. Tara, I can't keep doing this, I said, my voice thick with regret. Every time I tried to help, you end up taking advantage of me. You need to figure this out on your own. Please, she said, her voice breaking into sobs. I don't have anyone else. I promise I'll pay you back. I'll make it right. I closed my eyes, letting the silence stretch between us. I've heard that before, Tara, and I can't do it anymore. I'm sorry. And with that, I hung up. I didn't answer the next time she called, or the time after that. Eventually, her call stopped, and the silence became permanent. It's been a few years now. I've heard bits and pieces about her through the family grapevine. She's still struggling, bouncing from one low-paying job to another. Occasionally, she'll pop up on social media, clinging to some new scheme or venture she claims will turn her life around. But none of them last. She'd worn out her welcome with our parents long ago, and most of the family had given up on her. Everyone says the same thing. Tara doesn't change. It's become almost a mantra whenever her name comes up. One morning, out of the blue, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I almost didn't answer it. Hello? A voice crackled on the other end, weak, softer than I remembered. It was Tara. My stomach twisted. I hadn't heard from her in years, and the sound of her voice after so much time felt like a punch to the gut. Tara? Yeah, she said, almost whispering. I know it's been a long time. What do you want? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. There was a pause, a long one. I heard her take a shaky breath. I don't want money, if that's what you're thinking. I just need to talk to someone. You're the only person who ever really listened to me. All right, I said, torn between frustration and a lingering sense of duty. I'm listening. I'm in Houston now, she began, her voice strained. Things haven't exactly gone well for me. I'm working part-time in a convenience store, living in a tiny, rundown apartment. It's been rough, Nick. I've been thinking a lot about the things I messed up, about you, about the money I took, everything. I felt a mix of anger and pity, unsure which was stronger. So, why are you calling me now? I know I have no right to ask for forgiveness, she said, her voice catching. But I just wanted to say that I'm sorry. I really, truly am. I was so stupid and selfish, and I never should have treated you the way I did. I could hear the genuine regret in her voice. For the first time in years, I felt like I was talking to the sister I once knew, the one that I always tried to help. Thank you for saying that, Tara, I said slowly. But you have to understand, you hurt me. You made me feel like a fool every time I tried to help you. I've had to work hard to get past that. I know, she said, her voice breaking. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed to tell you. I've tried to change, Nick. I really have. But it's hard when everyone's already given up on you, including yourself. There was a silence between us, and for a moment, the old bitterness threatened to rise again. But instead, I found myself asking, but are you getting any help? You know Simeon to talk to? I've been going to meetings, she said. There's this counselor Dareem trying to get my life back, little by little. A strange sense of pride welled up in me. She was doing it on her own this time, finally taking steps without relying on someone else to clean up her messes. It was the first time I'd ever heard her sound accountable. Good, I said, my voice softer than I intended. I'm glad to hear that. She let out a hollow laugh, a laugh that held a lifetime of mistakes. I don't blame you if you don't believe me. I just wanted you to know I'm not the same person I was. I thought back to all the broken promises, all the betrayals. It was hard to let go of that resentment, that instinct to protect myself from being hurt again. Look, Tara, I said, sighing, I hope you're serious about this. I want to believe you've changed, but it's going to take time. I understand, she whispered. I've got a long way to go. I wasn't ready to open my life to her again. Not fully, but for the first time in years, I felt a tiny sliver of hope for her. Maybe she could turn things around. Maybe there was still a chance to her to find a better path. All right, Tara, I said, my voice softening. Stay in touch. Let me know how things go. She sounded almost shocked. I will. Thank you, Nick. Really? We said goodbye, and I hung up, feeling a strange mix of emotions. It wasn't forgiveness. Not entirely, but it was a step forward, a cautious one. The months went by, and true to her word, she checked in with me from time to time. Each call was brief, and I was careful to keep my distance, offering encouragement but not financial support. I wasn't willing to be her crutch, but with each call, I could hear her slowly rebuilding, putting her life back together one fragile piece at a time. A year later, she called me with news I never thought I'd hear. Nick, she said, her voice full of a quiet pride I hadn't heard in years. I've been accepted into a program. It's a scholarship for people who've been through tough times. They're going to help me finish my degree. My heart swelled with a mixture of pride and disbelief. This was Tara, the girl who had once squandered every chance I'd given her, finally finding her own way forward. That's incredible, Tara, I said. I'm proud of you. Really? Thanks, Nick, she said, her voice full of emotion. I wouldn't have gotten here without you. Even if it took me years to realize it, you were always there, believing in me when no one else did. A lump formed in my throat, and I struggled to keep my voice steady. You did this on your own, Tara. You put in the work. This is all you. She was quiet for a moment, and I could hear the tears in her voice. Maybe, but I had you in my corner, even when I didn't deserve it. That conversation marked a turning point. Slowly, cautiously, we began to rebuild our relationship, not as the brother and sister we once were, but as the people who had learned to see each other with fresh eyes. She knew she'd hurt me, and I knew I had to let go of the bitterness if I wanted to move forward. It wasn't easy, and it took time. 2 years later, Tara has her own little studio apartment. She's still on the path to recovery, and every now and then, we get together for coffee, catching up on life like we're finally friends. Sometimes I still catch myself waiting for the other shoe to drop, for her to slip back into her old habits. But more and more, I find myself believing in her, believing that people really can change, even if it takes years of hard lessons and countless heartbreaks. As we sat together in a cafe last month, sipping coffee and talking about her classes, she looked over at me with a soft smile. Thanks, Nick, she said quietly, for never giving up on me, even when I was impossible to love. I reached across the table, giving her hand a small squeeze. I never gave up on you, Tara. I just needed you to find your own way. And in that moment, I realized that against all odds, she finally had. So, Reddit, I'm laying it all out there. After everything, Did I handle this right? Was I too harsh, too forgiving? I need your honest opinions. Tell me what you think. Would you have done things differently? Your thoughts would mean a lot as I am still trying to process everything.